Thank you. I want to just first of all recognize Holy Nativity City, some of Holy Nativity's members, and be able to say we are small but mighty. Okay, so I just want to say that. You know, I'm going to try to not repeat, but there's so much overlap, I think, in Polly's life. And I'm going to try to, and so if it sounds a little disjointed now, it's because I'm trying not to give you everything that you've already heard before. But today we're just pausing for a moment to remember the great cloud of witnesses, those people whose faith has led the way for generations that are yet unborn. And so we remember the ones who spoke when the world tried to silence them, who stood when others who stood in comfort, who sang hope into a weary world. We remember and celebrate the life of the Reverend Dr. Pauli Murray, who was a saint, a scholar, a lawyer, a poet, and a priest. A woman whose life was a sermon about the grace of God and the stubborn power of truth. From her earliest years, she learned that to be both black and female in America was to live in this tension between dignity and denial. Yet even as the world excluded her, she clung to the conviction that God had not. And when she applied to the University of North Carolina in 1938, her application was rejected because she was black. And when she applied to Harvard after graduating first in her class at Howard, she was rejected. And I'm going to read you the official response. It was brief and bureaucratic. It said, your application cannot be considered because Harvard University does not admit women. That was it. There was no further explanation, no mention of her qualifications, no acknowledgement of her extraordinary record, none of that. Just a flat declaration that her sex disqualified her from study. So Polly, being who Polly was, very witty, wrote back and she said, I would gladly change my sex to meet your requirements. But since the way to such has not yet been revealed to me, I must decline your offer. And with that sentence, Polly did what prophets do. She named the absurdity of injustice and exposed how deep its roots really run. She called her double burden, just as we heard earlier, Jane Crow, a phrase that revealed the hidden intersection of racism and sexism that too often define the experience of black women. Yet through it all, Polly persisted. Education was supposedly the gateway to freedom. And for Polly, though, it became a closed door. But she refused to let the gatekeepers have the final word. At every stage of her academic journey, she encountered institutions that claimed to prize knowledge, but practice exclusion. They told her, you're brilliant, you're just not welcome. And still she wrote, still she studied and taught with relentless faith. Her book that she wrote, State Laws on Race and Color, actually became what Thurgood Marshall called the Bible of the civil rights law. Yet Polly's name was rarely spoken in lecture halls. As we heard, she wasn't in the picture when everyone was celebrating the overthrowing of the case. Her contributions were often footnotes rather than headlines. And even now, today, we see echoes of that same erasure. In recent months, as many of you know, we've seen efforts by our federal government to strip away Polly's full identity from public record. Her biography was removed from the National Park Service website. References to her gender identity and her contributions to the LGBTQ+ community were erased or rewritten. The irony is really painful that a woman who gave her life expanding freedom should now have her own freedom of memory constricted. But perhaps we shouldn't be surprised at all. For the saints of God have always been inconvenient to empire. Their truths never fit neatly into boxes that the world provides. Pauli's life reminds us that sainthood is not about perfection, it is about persistence. It's about telling the truth when others would rather you be silent. It is about believing that God's image is not bound by human categories of race, gender, or respectability. What makes Pauli Murray's story profoundly holy is not just what she accomplished, but how she understood her life before God. After years of advocacy and legal work, she felt called to the priesthood, a call that the church itself had not even provided a way for her to receive. When she entered General Theological Seminary in 1973, women were still barred from ordination, but it didn't stop her. She went anyway. And when she was ordained in 1977, the first African-American woman priest in our denomination, she said this: "All the strands of my life had come together. Descendant of slave and slave owner, woman, lawyer, priest, I had come home." Home. That word captures what she sought all her life: belonging, integrity, the reconciliation of divided parts within herself, within the world, and within the church. And in that moment, Pauli Murray became more than a priest. She became a sign of resurrection, proof that what was once rejected can become cornerstone. Pauli stands alongside Harriet and Sojourner, along Fanny and Rosa, along the prophets who refused to bow down to the false gods of race and gender and power. And she stands with us because her struggle is not finished. That is why today, as we lift up her name among the saints, I am so honored to announce the next chapter in her legacy: the Holy Nativity Pauli Murray Episcopal Learning Center. A ministry born out of this very spirit of justice, inclusion, and hope. In the same city where Pauli took her first breath, we are planting seeds for the next generation of children who will learn that faith and knowledge are not enemies, but partners in liberation. Where Pauli was denied opportunity, these children will be nurtured to flourish. Where systems once said no, we will declare a resounding yes. Our learning center will serve infants through preschoolers, the youngest minds of Baltimore, at the Park Heights community and the surrounding area, with a curriculum that honors the whole child, body, mind, and spirit. It will be justice-centered, faith-filled, joy-filled, and faith-rooted, a place where education becomes a holy act of repair. And when we open our doors, God willing, in August of 2026, it will not simply be a school. It will be a living monument, a resurrection of what Pauli Murray fought for: equal access to learning, dignity for every human being, and the freedom to dream without constraint. You know, saints are not meant to be put on a pedestal. They are meant to light the path. And the Holy Nativity Pauli Murray Episcopal Learning Center will be one such light, shining for generations to come. Pauli once wrote, "Hope is a song in a weary throat. Give me a song of hope and a world where I can sing it." My friends, we are that world. And through the lives of our children, through the ministry of this diocese, through the work of Holy Nativity, Pauli's song continues on. It is the song of every person who has ever been told they don't belong, and yet still dares to stand. It's the song of every teacher who believes that learning can change lives. It's the song of every believer who knows that resurrection is not only what happens after death, it is what happens every time that love wins over fear. So let us give thanks for Polly, for her courage, her brilliance, her weary but unbroken voice. And may we promise here today to keep singing her song, because as long as her melody is heard in our classrooms, our pulpits, our prayers, and our hearts, the saints are still moving and are among us. Amen.